the Survivalist Podcast with Mark Puhaly and Matt Gould. In each episode of the Survivalist Podcast, we look at different events and catastrophes that could happen in different areas of the world. Then we give you the knowledge, resources, and recommendations you need to survive. We'll explore scenarios from a worldwide financial collapse to a coordinated terrorist attack to a global climate catastrophe and everything in between. The Survivalist Podcast is brought to you by Survival Cash, Ford Survival Supply, and thebugoutrace.com. Please visit our website, thesurvivalistpodcast.com, for more information or to give us feedback. And now, the Survivalist Podcast with Mark Puhaly and Matt Gould.
Today, we're going to go to basics, and we're going to talk about gear. We're going to talk about your bug-out bag. We're talking about what you have to have. And I am like what I think most people are like, which is that I feel like I should be prepared, and yet I am not. So I fall into that category that I bet most people fall into. And so I thought, Mark, today we could go through what you need to not be in that category.
Absolutely. Like you said, whether you're an expert prepper or survivalist, whether you're a novice, whether you're just getting started, looking at your gear, it's always a refinement process. You want to make sure you have the right stuff. You're carrying the right stuff that doesn't weigh a ton, because you're going to have to move with these items. Even if your initial bug out plan is to get in a vehicle and drive, you might not be on a road where you can drive for miles, and you might have to get out of that car, truck, bus, train, whatever, and man pack your gear. So what's going to work for you? What's going to work the best for you? What's going to be the lightest, fastest, so you can stay light and nimble and quick on your feet, and you could move indefinitely if you have to.
I remember you saying something when we were filming the show before we even talk about gear. Is you talk about fitness, don't you?
There's some things that survivalists and preppers oftentimes they overlook. First, I think their physical prowess. I mean, we've said this before that, hey, just because I watched a survival show or read a survival book, I could immediately say, okay, I'm a self-proclaimed survival expert. Well, what have you done? What credentials do you have? Have you ever tested yourself? Have you put yourself in a potential survival situation? Have you ever rehearsed your bug out? Have you ever put weight on your back? How am I going to perform physically? Not only if I were to go what we call slick or Hollywood in the military, like if I were to go for a 10-mile hike, how would I do right now? How would I do on flat terrain? How would I do on undulating terrain? How would I do on very, very difficult, hilly Afghanistan-style terrain with rocks and hard places to go through and navigate through? How would I do that one slick? How would I do it with a basic day pack? Then how would I do it with my bug-out pack? And how would I do it with my ultimate survival bug-out bag? So fitness in survival is key. That's one of the things. And then the fact that a lot of prepper survivalists, they like to overlook is that, first aid. Oh, I'm never going to get hurt. I'm never going to get injured. So when I'm walking through the woods, over rocks, over shit, over debris, oh, I'm never going to roll my ankle. I'm never going to face plant. I'm never going to get a wound that could fester, and that's going to obviously slow you down and hinder you in a survival situation. And then the people in your party getting injured, and/or you dealing with death, first aid. What are you going to do with human feces and urine? Where's it going to go? So I think those three things are often overlooked, or they're sugar-coated, or they're never talked about, or they're not practiced. They're not rehearsed. They're not, okay, I'm going to rehearse my bug-out routine, but I run out of gas at mile 3. I have a flat tire at mile 10. The road is impassable at mile 25, and I still have 10, 15, 20, 200 miles to go. What am I going to do?
I love to start every podcast talking about human feces and human urine. First of all, I think that's critical. I get the point. What you're saying is like, I just have this image of a certain prepper who's, 50 pounds overweight, has 45 rifles and 25 pistols and, a ton of stored food. But, if they have to move, they're done for, right?
Right. And there's survivalists and preppers who said, look, man, I'm dying in place. I'm going to have my last stand, my Alamo, at my bug out location. But what if someone sets their house on fire because they want their shit? How are they going to get out of there? I mean, we know this. We know this just looking at coworkers or looking at yourself, the more physically fit you are, the more mentally fit you typically are. If you don't keep a level head in a survival situation, if your mind goes and you start thinking illogically and irrationally, you're probably going to be, on the side of the road getting eaten by a dog.
Yeah, so let's start getting into the gear. So I would say Prepper 101 is the bug out bag, right?
Right. I'd
And
say your bag. And
okay.
yeah, what bag am I going to get? And with that being said, think about, where do I live? What's the environment I'm in? Where am I going to be going? How much stuff am I going to need to carry with me? How long am I going to be traveling? There's the ones where it's the indefinite one, or there's maybe a 72-hour kit to get you through 3 days. So with that, how much cubic space do I need in a pack? And then you want to start thinking about comfort and durability. Yes, you could go to Walmart, Target, and probably get a pack it's not going to be bad. It's not going to last for a while. I mean, remember, Matt, we had the kid on the show with like the lacrosse robotic arm protector stuff. He had a
Yes.
basic, college backpack. It's probably going to be okay for, a novice. It's going to be okay, but how long is it going to last? How durable is it going to be? So those are the things you want to think about. Just like we're going to talk about weapons. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how cool it looks and everybody's using this one and everybody's doing this one. If it doesn't fit you and it's not comfortable on you and you don't think you could use it and move with it, then it's not the right pack for you.
I want to talk about what goes in the pack. Like,
I
if
don't know
you
if
could
it's-
only take one thing, what would you take?
That's hard. That's hard to say. I think I would take a knife. You can hunt with a knife. You can build a shelter with a knife. You can make an improvised weapon with a knife. You can hit flint with a knife to start a fire. But when I think about survival, I always like to think of things you need to survive. You're going to need water first and foremost. If you're in a blizzard, you're going to need shelter. We can go 3+ weeks without food, but you're going to need food to keep your stamina, keep your mind right, to be able to think right, to be able to move. You're going to need chow. You're going to need fire. You're going to need fire to cook food, and you're going to need fire to purify water. Unless you have some type of water purification kit, straw, bottle, purification pump, etc. And then you're going to need security, and security in the form of communication, the means to make communication, the means to effect rescue, and the means to protect yourself.
Water, shelter, food, security.
Yeah, food, fire. Well, I'm thinking food because it's lunchtime. Food, water, fire, shelter, and then security. With security comes hunting, communication, protecting yourself, fending off wild animals or others who are going to try to steal your shit, take you, rape you, whatever.
Yep. So it seems like maybe the first thing you need is something to hold water in.
Yeah, because remember, we can only go about 3 days without water. Some container, like a canteen cup, a Nalgene bottle, just a cup, anything you could cook or boil water in or carry water in, some of which, these things we can find in nature. You can find, bamboo's going to hold water. I'm in the southwestern United States. I'm in Texas. So there's yucca plants. There's plants that have orbs in their roots that you could hollow out and carry water in. There's coconuts where you could carry water in. So some of these things you can find in nature. If let's say you're on a beach, there's a lot of debris on the shoreline that you could probably find a container to boil water. If you're in the wetlands or lowlands or coastal areas, there's probably plastic debris. Think about all the plastic bottles we throw away each year. They're bound to want trash. You could find a container, probably in the environment. I don't want to say probably. Depends on the environment you're in. But depending on where you're at, you can find a water carrying device.
That's true. So most people could probably find it. So it's a
Right.
knife. When I think about a knife, I think of like a Gerber, folding knife that I would use. Is that
Mhm.
is that like the kind of knife you'd need, or you need something better
You
than
could
that?
you could take what you could get. I mean, if you carry a Gerber around with you all day and you're put in a survival situation, yes, that could work. You could use it to cut, gut, potentially chop down, small tree stuff by hitting a rock on the knife. But ideally, you want a full tang blade knife. So that means the blade goes all the way to goes all the way through the handle. So you don't have a chance of breaking the knife. If you need to use your knife to cut a tree branch, for example, and if it's a folding lock blade knife, you could potentially damage it or snap the knife off because it's not a full tanged blade. Um, and Matt, just want to go back a second. I was asked this like 3 weeks ago. Oh, and this question was prefaced of, don't give me a knife that can do, it can start fire, it could build a house, it carries every single thing in it possible. I'm just saying a basic knife, a good full tang blade knife that's going to hold an edge. Maybe it has it's serrated on the top side, so if I needed to saw with it, that would be my perfect survival knife, I guess you could say. And then I would have something to carry and purify water in. So a canteen cup, Nalgene bottle, a metal container, a screw cap container, and then the last thing was some means to start fire. I
Yeah.
think those were the three things that I said that I would. I said you can send me in the woods butt ass naked with a knife, something to gather water in, and a fire starting device, and I'll come back in a month with a hotel and a resort out there.
Nice. So what do you use to start fire? I mean, are you talking about just take a lighter with you, book of
Um,
matches?
Either you could have many things, a lighter, waterproof matches, a flint, a magnesium block that you can shave to start fire and make a spark. A very easy fire starting, it's not a fire start, it's more kindling that you can make at home. Just about everybody has cotton balls and everybody has Vaseline. If you soak cotton balls in Vaseline, you put them in a Ziploc bag, that could be part of your 72-hour kit or your bug out kit. They'll easily take a spark.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So how do you create the spark?
There's multiple fire starting devices.
Well, I'll tell you. One time, I was making a TV show about this primitive living survivalist camp for teenagers out in the desert in Utah, and we had nothing, and we had to start a fire with where you have a stick and then you hollow out a
Right.
hole in another
You make
stick and then you
a bow
spin it.
drill.
Yeah, spin it with
Mhm.
your hands, or you might have a bow drill but we didn't have any string, so we were making a rope out of like yucca fibers, and
Yep.
it was miserable. I mean, it took me about I did eventually get a fire, but it took me about 4 hours to do it.
Yeah,
And
it's very taxing. And so with making a bow drill, you want to make sure you get the right type of wood to do that. You have to do you have to get a piece of wood that ideally it's like a balsa wood. It's a hard if it's too soft of a wood, you're not gonna get a good ember out of it. You have a base piece of wood that you're gonna cut a notch into. And then you have a nice hard piece of wood that you're going to make smooth that you can either use your hands or you can put the bow around the vertical piece of wood that you're going to be spinning. And that spinning is going to create heat. The friction is going to cause heat. And ideally, you're going to form an ember. And then that ember you're going to put into a bundle, good fire starting material. Like in Colorado when we were working for the show, aspen tree bark or tree bark is going to be good for kindling, dried out wood, grass, some of the old man's beard that you could see, you dry that out. That's going to take a spark very, very well. But like you said, Matt, using a bow drill, it's going to be an ass kicker. And if you're in a rainy environment, like it poured down rain here a couple nights ago, so all that wood's going to be a little bit saturated. Many fire starters that we have at Ford Survival Supply, we have the Aurora fire starter. It makes a spark. We have Ready Fuel. We have a blast match fire starter. We have Sparky fire starters. We have Stormproof lighters. We have Stormproof matches. So Strike Force fire starter. All these things are going to make. Some are going to make sparks. All of us can probably start a fire with a lighter or matches, depending on how windy it is in the environment. I recommend when you're putting your pack together, just like what pack is the most comfortable for me. It's easy to use. I know where everything is. I know where the pockets are. You can go to REI, go to Ford Survival Supply, go to your local sporting goods store and look at these items. We have everything on the internet today.
Yeah.
Everything you can imagine is there. So before you go make a purchase, and this isn't a huge purchase anyway. Our most expensive fire starters are $30.
Yeah.
With matches being regular matches, you get free. Go to a store and get the Stormproof matches are $4, $7. So look at these, see what works best for you, see what's the easiest for you to use that gives you the best result, and that's what you want to get. And these things are light. They don't weigh a ton. So have redundancy. Have some stormproof matches. Have a lighter. Have a sparky fire starter. Have a blast match. The blast match is pretty cool because it shoots a bunch of sparks into what would be your bundle.
And we probably have to move along a little faster to get through everything. But there's a get out of Dodge bag versus what you call an inch bag, right? I'm never coming home again bag. I see.
Well, yeah, like okay, there's a forest fire and it's gonna burn my freaking house down. What shit am I gonna grab and get out of there? Or the zombies are coming, or the nuclear fallout's coming, a tsunami's coming. What do I need to get out of Dodge?
Yep. So let's move on to protection. This is
Mhm.
really my favorite thing to talk about. And just on a personal level, I think I told you that I finally got my firearms purchaser license. And
Oh,
I've,
all
I've
right.
never owned one before, but I can buy a handgun right now. Well, first of all, how important is a firearm? Do you want a handgun? Do you want a rifle? Do you want a shotgun?
I think ideally you could get all three, but that's more to carry. First, you want to make sure whatever gun you get that you practice with the thing. And just like with all this other gear, you want to make sure it fits your hand well. It feels good in your hand. It's balanced in your hand. That's for a pistol. There's a lot of debate. You can reference survivalcache.com on, what's the best survival round for a pistol? Is it a 9 millimeter? Is it a 45 caliber? Is it a and then you can go into the debates whether should I get a semi-automatic weapon or should I get a revolver? And so that's stuff that our listeners can research that stuff.
Yeah.
But
But so,
bottom
first of all, do you think a firearm is important to be prepared? Is that part of your bug out bag?
It is. I think from a security standpoint, from a security, survivability, and longevity from a hunting perspective, we could probably agree it's easier to shoot something than to try to trap it or capture it or run it down or make primitive weapons to try to get an animal to eat.
That's all true. The whole debate about firearms and who should have them, I think everyone would agree that if it comes down to a place where you don't have anything to eat and you got to get an animal, you would want a firearm, no matter what your stance was on firearms before you got into that place.
Absolutely. If you're going hungry and there's an animal that you can shoot, regardless of caliber, if you could shoot a squirrel with the 22, which is a very viable survival weapon, from a handgun to a 22 rifle, you can kill small game with a rifle with a 22 round, which is a very small caliber round, but you can carry thousands of bullets compared to a larger caliber weapon. So if you suck at shooting, you can have maybe some more. You could have extra rounds to shoot once, twice, 10 times until you hit your target.
Yeah,
But
I love that. Most like macho men would say a 22 is no good, but I could see a scenario where that would work. I'm thinking, here's my thought is a handgun is probably a better option because in the worst case scenario, security is going to be a big issue. I feel like a handgun might be better than a rifle for security. And second, it's just a lot smaller and you can carry it a lot more easily. And so you're more likely to have it with you when the shit hits the fan.
right, it's easier to man pack. But remember, there are breakdown rifles too. There's 22 survival rifles that you can break them down. You can take the barrel off of the receiver and put them in your pack. There's an AR-7 22 survival rifle, and there's also a Ruger 1022 takedown survival rifle that you can man pack them both. And so redundancy, ideally you could have a pistol, a rifle. We're talking survival and we're talking staying alive. The best weapon for home defense for someone breaking into your house is a shotgun, not a pistol. It's a shotgun because a shotgun you can go and that noise is very distinct and you can be like, get out of my house, motherfucker, or I'm going to put some 12 gauge buckshot up your ass. And they should get that message clearly. Whereas a pistol, like we've discussed, a pistol's not as easy to shoot as it is in the movies. A shotgun for home defense is more of an area weapon. If you shoot in the general direction of an assailant coming into your home, you are more than likely going to hit them with a shotgun. If you have a high velocity round in the pistol, one, you could miss in your haste. And yes, you could go through the wall and shoot your neighbor's dog or your neighbor walking down the street. And if you're going to get a pistol, you could get a pistol with a laser on it. So you could laze the person walking into your home or apartment and be like, hey, that laser on your chest, a bullet's coming next if you don't get the fuck out of here. In a close quarter battle scenario, I'd like to have a pistol and or shotgun. But from a survivability standpoint, I could have the pistol on my hip. Yes, I could have a 10-22 rifle or more of a long gun, larger caliber. Because let's just say, worst case, you're bugged in outside. Remember, a rifle is going to give you more standoff. So you could take pot shots at a group and or people coming towards you from a lot longer distances than with a pistol, because you're gonna have more range.
Ah, very interesting.
You know
And
what I
also,
mean?
what
So,
about hunting? Is it possible to hunt with a pistol, or is that
absolutely.
it is
But
possible?
it's possible, but you have to be much more accurate. So if you're gonna hunt with a pistol, I recommend shooting with a platform or having some type of support, a shooting platform, so you can be much more stable with the pistol. But you also want to think too, do I want to shoot a squirrel with a 45? Um, a 45 is a very large caliber round, so it could blow the animal apart and ruin all the meat. So, um, ideally, a smaller round. You want to choose your round for what you're trying to hunt. You
Right.
know, I don't want to shoot a grizzly bear with the 22. All that's going to do is piss him off, and he's going to rip my head off. Um, I don't want to shoot a big deer with a 22. I could injure the animal and never track him down. It's gonna be hard to kill a deer with a 22. Um,
Yeah, I always picture myself if there's a real survival scenario of me, bringing down a deer and carving it up, and we've got plenty of food. I'm smoking it. But I
yep,
think
yeah.
but it's, how realistic is that type of a scenario?
It is with the right type of weaponry to do that, or the right type of trap to do that. Let's say if you don't have a weapon, you could build a snare to capture a deer. You could build some deadfall on a game trail that maybe a deer falls in a hole with punji sticks that kills the deer. You go in there, slit the deer's throat, and then you gut it, and you cure the meat. But with curing the meat, you need smoke and you need salt. So that can be done in a long term survival situation. I mean, ideally, you're going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Or you're going to
Back
be able to fish. You're going to be able to fish, trap, set snares for smaller game, set basic deadfall traps with like little food with a big rock that's going to smash a squirrel. And you could eat a squirrel, a lizard, a small rodent, a rabbit. But all that stuff, it's not as easy as it seems to be on TV on the survival shows.
right.
Uh, it's hard to trap and catch animals. It's hard to make snares. It's hard to do these things without. You have to think about leaving your scent. You have to think like the animal, like what they're doing, um, and where they're going to get food, and how that's how you have to set your trap with them. Fish is a viable option too, but you need fishing gear. You need line and a hook and probably bait. But in a survival situation, that's something that it doesn't require that much energy. Think about conserving energy too when you're in a long-term survival situation. You don't want to be running around and jumping all over the place and expending a lot of energy when, one, you don't have a lot of water or you have to purify your water, and two, you have to expend a lot of energy to get food.
Yeah. All right. So I'm thinking we probably need more than one episode for gear. But let's say we're talking about a get out of Dodge bag. All
Yep.
right. So this is Mark Puhaly's get out of Dodge bag. It's something you have at your house. This is for something that is unforeseen, something like breakdown of law and order. And suddenly the area you're living in is not safe and you've got to beat it and you got to get out of Dodge and you don't know how long you're going to be gone for. You got your pack and you're saying it's comfortable, it has straps, it can fit. It's probably something like military surplus or, just something for camping or ergonomic, a heavy duty
Yep.
pack, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah. And actually, my bug out pack's kind of old school. It's my old Alice pack from the Marine Corps, which is gear from. It's a long time ago. Now they have new Molly, but it's my Alice pack. I like it. It's durable. I used it for many years. I can pack the heck out of it. I have external straps and compartments that I put stuff in.
What's in that bag? Your get out of Dodge bag.
Okay, so I have redundant fire starters. I have an Aurora fire starter. I have matches, and I have a stormproof lighter. First of all, I have water bottles in the form of Nalgene bottles. I also have some bladders in there, like Camelback bladders, so I can store water in them. And I have
And they don't weigh anything either, right?
yeah, they don't weigh anything unless I put water
And they
in them.
don't take up space, so that's
Yeah,
good.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So that's good, yeah. As
Yeah.
opposed to the Nalgene bottles, which have a fixed amount of space they take up. These don't take up space.
Right, and I have a few different means to cook and make food. I have my old trusty MSR Whisper Light stove that it can use anything to make a flame for fire. So I can burn kerosene, white gas, gasoline for a stove. And with that, I have a canteen cup, and I have an MSR cooking kit. So it's a stainless steel cooking kit. It's a couple pans and then I have a titanium utensil. So that's like food, water. I also have a water purification straw, and I also have iodine water purification tablets.
So that's redundancy too. That's good.
Yes.
Now, what
And
about knife? Is there a knife in
so
that bag?
are there knives in my bag, Matt? I have a Perry survival blade. I have a Marine Corps K-bar. I have a Gerber that I carry on my person, and I also have a Leatherman too. And there's probably a couple others that are thrown in there.
So
that I
that's
have.
heavy. All right.
Yeah.
And then what about shelter? Is there some sort of a
So
something for
I
shelter?
have a poncho. I also have a Marine Corps, it's called a poncho liner. It's a fluffy camouflage thing. Sometimes I even sleep on it on the top of my bed instead of jumping under the covers.
And
And
that's
I
the thing
also,
you can attach to another person with a poncho liner and make a tent, right?
yeah, if you put two ponchos together, you can make a tent with it, or you could even make a tent with a regular poncho. You tie off the hood so water wouldn't get in. So you can make a shelter with a poncho. And I also have an MSR tent. It could sleep 3 people if need be.
Wow. So you've got fire starter, you've got protection and a knife for use. You got
Mhm.
shelter and you've got water. So
Water and water gathering purification.
yep.
And then I also have food. So I have 5 days of food. Depends on what I want to bring with me. If I want to bring a good trusty MRE, you can have dehydrated food, which is obviously you need water, but it's lighter, so you can carry more of it. There's many food options. The mainstay energy food bars, they're a shit ton of calories, and it's not much weight. So there's 1,200 calories. There's 2,400 calorie food bars.
So is that everything in your bag or mostly everything?
Mostly everything in my bag. And I also have, just from a comfort thing, I also have some like soup and broth and tea and coffee. And I also like to have trail mix, stuff that's going to last. I also like coconut oil that I started putting in there.
What do you do
Just
with that for flavoring?
Coconut's really good for you. It's good fat. And like on a cold night, you take a spoonful of coconut oil before you go to bed. It's gonna help keep you a little bit warmer. Like a high caloric food with good fat at night and cold is gonna help keep you warm at night. Eating a bunch of sugary shit, and if you eat tons of protein, remember if you eat a lot of like if you could starve killing a bunch of rabbits.
Right.
You could cannibalize yourself. So you want to have a good mix of you want to have good high fat carbohydrate food and some protein also.
Yeah.
Think
Yeah.
about basic nutrition when it comes to your survival chow.
That's good stuff. And is there a firearm you're taking with you?
Yes, I'm gonna have a few. I have my Kimber, my custom Kimber Marine Corps Special Forces Detachment 145 that's gonna be on my hip, and then I'm gonna have my AR style rifle, which is a 223. It's an AR-15, so it's an M4. I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna have that for security and for hunting purposes. And ideally, I'd have my 308 Remington 700 like sniper hunting rifle with me too. But that's a lot.
That
I
seems
can,
How much
It's a
does
lot.
all that weigh then? You got all that stuff. How much does that weigh? How do you carry that stuff?
That's about with the weapons and ammo, that's gonna be about a good 100 pounds. So depending on how much ammo I have. But I'm used to carrying a load. I'm used to it. I can move a long period of time with the load.
Right.
And my water I can get as needed. I'm not carrying a gallon of water, I think weighs 4 to 7 pounds. I can't remember the exact
I
weight.
heard it was. I remember. Well, if it's the same as a gallon of milk, it's 8 pounds.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a lot of weight for a gallon of water. But right now in South Texas, the temperatures are temperate. It's cool at night and it's gorgeous. It's brilliant during the day. But the summer months, I'm gonna pack a shit ton of water. I'm gonna sacrifice some food for more water, more pure water. Even though I know I can get to water en route to my bug out location. However, in the summer months, creek beds and everything, they're not going to be full unless there's rain. So again, I would think back to what environment you're in and where you're going to, say, a bug out location, etc., and think about the things that are that you need to get there successfully, and things you can get along the way. Um, I have I have a couple caches on the way to my bug out location in the Texas Hill Country that I can access that only I know about.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
I think what we'll do is wrap it up there. I think the get out of Dodge bag sounds amazing. I think next time we'll talk about the caches and we'll talk about the bug out location, the destination, right? That's theoretically that's for a long haul stay, right?
Yes.
And so
Yep.
we could talk about everything you need there, which I think is pretty exciting. I'm thinking my bag and most people's bag would probably need to be 50 pounds and not 100 pounds. I
Yeah,
would
or
think.
even less. Like, I mean, think about a 72-hour kit. It doesn't need to be the monstrosity bag to carry everything.
Now,
The
yeah,
big,
now that I think about it, 50 pounds, I mean, that's like those big bags of salt, right? Those are 40-pound bags. That would be brutal just to carry that around on your back for a long time. So you want even lighter if you can.
right? And because remember, what if you have to get out of a burning building, jump over a wall, get out of a car, but your initial bug out load, there's redundancy there.
Yeah.
And not only is there redundancy, but things are packed the same too. We do this in the military. You know, your first aid kit is on the outside right pouch of the pack that I need to get to. Where if you got shot, Matt, I would use your stuff instead of using my stuff, and I know to go right where your first aid kit is to patch you up, or to wrap an ankle, or to wrap a broken arm, or whatever. Yeah, we can talk about that later
That's
too.
really, really good, Mark. And next time, remind me, I also want to talk about improvised weapons, which are my other favorite thing
Oh
besides
yeah,
firearms.
absolutely.
Thank you. And next time, we'll get into longer term survival.
The Survivalist Podcast with Mark Puhaly and Matt Gould.